Welcome to The View with Vertex, the show that takes you behind the scenes with some of the most influential people, personalities, and companies shaping the scaffolding industry. This next episode is brought to you by Scaffchamp, powered by Layher. Layher are an absolute juggernaut of innovation and efficiency within the scaffolding sector, along with their great partners KEWAZO. KEWAZO are doing great things to address labour shortages and the risks of manual handling in the construction industry. I truly hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, all I ask is that you like, subscribe, and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Welcome back to a very special episode of The View with Vertex. We are recording from Vilnius, Lithuania at Scaffchamp 24, powered by Layher. We're in the Liftpot studio and we're joined by another very special guest. From what I'm told, if you speak about Layher in the United States of America, one name springs to mind, and that is my esteemed guest, Frank Frietsch. Did I get it right?
You got it right. Right enough.
Right enough, yeah. Close enough for an English guy.
Definitely. It's not an easy last name for an English guy.
Yeah. So, Vilnius, are you enjoying your time here so far?
It is a beautiful town. They picked beautiful weather for that. I enjoyed the beer. I enjoyed the crowd. It is pretty awesome. That inner city is just gorgeous, beautiful, and lively. And out here, it's lively. It is cool. Yes, yeah. I enjoy that.
And it's the perfect partner for an event like this, right? I mean, I know it's a scaffolding event, but and many events companies around the world are using Layher to build a lot of the structures and stages. So it kind of lends itself to an event like this. But from from a competition perspective, for me. In the UK, there's quite a lot of people saying it should be tube and fitting. How can you call it the Scaffolding World Champions if they call it Lego? It's like 90% of the rest of the world uses this stuff, right?
In general, here for us in the US, it's probably 85 to 90%. Mm-hmm. And then it's different other systems and a little bit of tube and clamp. You always need that. And just to the UK guys, if they know how to build with tube and clamp, they know their crap in scaffolding, so they know how to build scaffold. I got to give that to the British.
Yeah. I mean, we are held in high regard, and I think a lot of it comes from the training schemes. Many places around the world, if you go to a training centre, whether it's Dubai, Qatar, Oman, these places in Chennai, I think there was one in Russia. They're all CISRS training centres, and it's all based on the UK rules and standards, right? So it's we are held in quite high regard because of that. But these emerging markets and a lot of these guys in Eastern Europe, they've been brought up with this stuff,
And it has its advantages. I mean, now that you're facing a little bit of a lack of workers in the UK, so you gotta improve on the productivity, and it definitely does. Yes, it's the Lego stuff, and that's the reason it improves on the productivity.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange criticism as well, isn't it? Because, who didn't like Lego when there was a kid? Lego was great.
Never thought about that. Yes, that is.
Lego was great. Lego really should be sponsoring this event, by the way, because they've been mentioned probably more times than Layher themselves.
We got to get that.
Yeah, we need to make that happen for next year.
With the big advantage that you can design and lay it out up front.
Yes.
And you can plan for it pretty well. For Lego, you better don't plan. You just play along.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask you about was Layher as a business, because, as I say, when I spoke to people earlier, they said when you think Layher in USA, you think Frank, and you've been there 19 years, right?
I've been there 19 years.
And helped pretty much reshape how Layher was perceived in the United States.
That is true. Layher came in the late 70s. And they were basically, after SGB's Cup-Lock, the only system scaffold. And then it was kind of calm because of the German reunification. So that whole thing dropped a little bit. And then we came back when I started. And I worked hard with the crew and with the support out of Germany. And yes, it kind of reshaped everything we've done. We're now up to 6 locations in the US and 2 in Canada. And about 19 years ago, we were at 1.5.
Wow. So it's completely transformed the way Layher looks.
How we work, how we look, the image to it and the quality we deliver. Not just in the material that almost everybody knows, but with the planning, with the designs, with the support, with the site support, with the training, and so on.
Yeah, that's one thing I found. I mean, I owned a scaffolding business, so, you know, and we were a Layher customer. And that's the thing that I really always felt set them apart from other companies was, you know, the support, the fact that if we needed to buy material for a project, they would design for that project. They would give it, you know, which helped us to do the material list for that project. Other companies that I've worked for before I had the scaffolding business, if we were buying a new piece of material, they would come out and show us how to use that material. It's just not something that you get from a lot of others. I think the others are trying now and they're playing catch up, but Layher have always been out in front in that regard, in my opinion.
And that's what we work on. That's what we try to improve even more than we do on rotating.
Yeah, to support the customers. What do you think it is about Layher as an organisation? Because I've had this conversation with a couple of the guys, Joe from the UK, Joe Thompson, and Sean Pike. All been there a really long time. What do you think it is about the culture at Layher that keeps people for so long?
Well, it's a product we can believe in. It's a product we can support. It's easy to sell something over price because it's when you're the cheapest and you have a decent product, then it's fairly easy. This is not the cheapest. It's probably the most expensive after certain other competitors, but it's the whole thing and the whole package with Layher. It's just a whole thinking about scaffold, the way you think about scaffold, the way you think to approach a job, that all belongs into it. From the manufacturing side to the planning stages, to the delivery stages, to the training stages, to the final projects.
Yeah, it's just all support all the way through. And as you say, it's a product that you can believe in. It makes sense that you would be able to retain the guys for such a long period of time.
A lot of my crew is with me since 15, 16, 18, 20 years.
You don't see that these days, I don't think. You don't...
Especially not in the US, where usually you have project cycles. Everybody's gone after about 9 months to 15 months. And I thought, this is not with us.
I see that as a trend quite, generally. People tend to work at companies where it used to be, the 20-odd year and the gold watch and the retirement at the end of it. It does seem like almost similar to like a movie now. People are working on this project, and when this project is done, they move on to the next thing, the next project. Layher just is such a wealth of knowledge in that longevity. People know where you've been on as a journey with the company.
And even guys that leave us usually leave us to a customer and now are even better customers of us than excellent.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times as well.
Yeah.
So someone will go and then they'll go to a Layher customer and then all of a sudden there's an even better relationship than there was before.
He's trained well, so...
I'm thinking of one name in particular. I don't think I'll call him out, but then he's now back at Layher. So everyone knows who that is. If you're from the UK, you'd quite easily work it out, but a really great guy. He's a really, really... I'm going to name him, might as well. Heath Brown. He's called.
Yeah.
Absolutely top class fella. Top class. When we were looking to buy Layher, he was our guy. And then Matt Sherwin up at the Egbra branch, he was supporting us as well. Just a different way of doing things. Even like the events like this, there was one down in Letchworth when they launched the Twix beam. It was like going to a wedding. There was just, like there was food laid on, there was little presentations and
every day. Yep. I mean, I've seen some of the video clips and I was jealous when John Pike did there with his crew. It was awesome. Is
it left to all the different subsidiaries, how you organise events and things like that?
There's a certain base information, but yeah, we do that ourselves. Our locations do that ourselves, and the different countries do their own style.
Yeah, I think when we talk about like longevity and people staying in the business for a long time, for me, one thing that's been throughout my career, and until I started a business on my own, was like I wanted autonomy. I didn't really want to be too managed. I wanted to
clamp down.
Yeah, exactly.
A little level of freedom helps.
Yes, And do you find that that's the case?
Helped a lot, yes.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. Me, because I don't want to be micromanaged. I want to have some directions, and I want to be able to discuss things that I feel are worth discussing. And layer management is really awesome in that. And this is how I'd like to work with my guys out there in the field. I'll leave them alone. I expect them to work and do that right. And then we do certain checkups and kind of milestone go-arounds, or they come to me, and usually they know, say, oh, listen, I got to talk to you about something. I screwed up. I said, okay. But they got the freedom to come with that without being the head ripped off and then get that moved. And then we take care of it and try to manage with the least impact to the customer. And because everybody has sometimes a screw up. And then the other side is, of course, when there are big successes. Right now, LNG, some of the U.S. military and so on, there's big pushes from us, and that works really well. So that's big successes, and that is to contribute to the guys that go out there and do their things.
How about having someone like yourself involved with from a military perspective? Am I right in saying you've got a military background?
I was a paratrooper, yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that helped you with the relationship with the
For us, it helped more that we have former Marine and Navy guys, but that was never the thought about it. It just automatically become that way because they speak the language, they know where to go to, and yes, that helped.
Yeah.
Yep.
My old business partner when I started the scaffolding company was an ex-Mercian regiment, served in Afghanistan and places like that. So we ended up, because of his friendship group, and we ended up employing a lot of veterans, and they were just great people to work with, super organised, always on time, never took themselves too seriously. It's they can be a real asset.
They are
to an organisation. Liftbot. So I was in with Simon and Jonas earlier on, and it was, they were speaking obviously very highly of you, and they said that as well as helping grow Layher in the North American market, he said you've been really key in helping them establish relationships in North America with Liftbot. Any sort of you're looking behind you here.
I'm looking behind you, but behind me, because a lot of these video clips here that we see here is actually from customers of ours that I pointed them to because I knew it is another productivity tool.
Was that the state building?
That was the U.S. Capitol, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Washington, D.C. by Scaffold Resources.
Mm-hmm.
And so they tried, a bunch of companies tried, and a bunch of companies went that route and got a certain amount of Liftbot. So it went through with their special models that they have. They have a couple of models on how to basically do a pay-per-click or pay-per-lift and so on.
Oh, really? I've never heard that before.
It's basically a rental model as of use hour, and that is pretty easy for somebody to go for. So
Yeah, I can imagine so. Because I mean, these things aren't cheap. Do you know what I mean? If you, as with Layher, do you know what I mean? It's but you pay for quality, and it's the value over time.
It is.
This thing's never going to call in sick. This thing's never going to go missing or get tired. It's just.
And it's another tool to work against the labor shortage.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at these huge projects, you now can use your labor, your skilled labor, more efficiently than using them to man material up or stand there and get a hoist to push it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a hoist has its place because there's a whole bunch of stuff. And then there's an advantage on this side here where you can just send it off and you do the next load and then send it back down and so on. So there's advantages in all directions, and every scaffold company's got to work with the right tools. Not always the layer is the right tools. Sometimes it might be a sky climber or some kind of a mast climbing material. So we had some of our scaffold on top of mast climbers in order to produce and get to the right spots that was the New York State Capitol years ago. And I said, whatever is good for the customer, and he's got to use his assets in the right way together with our stuff, then we have a good customer. And then we have a good customer relation, and then he's able to work with our material better.
So any real success stories that have come out of using Liftbot?
Direct success stories. I mean, they're working their way in a whole bunch of companies, and yes, they have these productivity studies, which I thought was an awesome tool to show. You try with the customer, and then you work out the man-hour savings and the speed of that, and the day savings, and then you have a selling tool for KEWAZO and a buying tool for the customer, and they know this is what I can get out of it, and this is what I can get in a similar. Yes, I'm going to do that, or yes, I'm going to do a pay-per-click version of that. So yes, there are for KEWAZO, there are quite a bunch of them.
The companies that are going to succeed with it are the companies that get it. I think you have to abandon some of your old beliefs and embrace something that's slightly different. But the labour shortages you mentioned and the cost of skilled labour, and then having 10 or 15 guys, you don't always have the luxury of having,
True.
15 or 20 unskilled guys and just 2 fixing, qualified guys. Usually the whole line is qualified guys, and you're paying a lot of money for those guys.
Especially if you go to plants or bigger job sites, you need to have qualified guys. It's not just a labourer. So.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there about the data analytics and stuff like that, what gets measured gets managed. And I think there's so many companies out there that are just putting the finger in the air and guessing. With this, you've got data. It shows you,
exactly what you've done with it.
Yeah, where the holes are. I think the only way that you'd ever be able to get a direct comparison would be if you had one block with liftbot and one block going up without liftbot, and then there are a few variables. There's the time. There's the man hours. What have you spent in labour?
They basically did that.
Oh, really?
A bunch of these companies basically did that. They did one facade side without the board, and they did the other one with the board. And some of them have very good productivity measures already, and now they can compare it to what they show with the board. So that worked out great for them.
Yeah, really interesting.
So there's one of my mentors, I would call him, said a good sentence. There's only one guy on the job in scaffolding, and this is the guy who stabs that leg and puts that ledger in. The rest is in logistics. And we lose and waste money on ways how we get something from there, to there, up there, to the guy who stabs that leg.
Yeah.
And the more efficient we do all that, the better is the outcome for the company.
We have a similar saying in the UK. We do a lot of the spanner. We have these lap spanners.
I need a translation for that.
So ratchet, spanner. In Australia they call it a key. So it's like a socket and a handle that moves.
Okay, yeah.
So it's like they call it a
strap.
Yeah, scaffolding key.
Okay.
But when we turn that, we say in the UK, if the spanner's not turning, no one's earning. So
are we talking about the ratchet?
Either the ratchet or the spanner.
No, it's just okay. Now I get
but
there.
If that's not turning, if we're not fixing, then nobody's earning. So, and you do spend so much more of your time getting the material to the job. But that's the bit that counts.
Yep.
And that's why I always find it so important to have a really good labourer. People undervalue like the guy who can read the job and say, I know what he needs next.
And the guy who can read the job 3 months before it's going to happen, where he puts the material, how it moves from there, and what happens if there is a container or if there's no crane or there's some other stuff in your way, what happens then? So these are key things. The whole money in the job can be lost if you have to go to the other side of the building.
There's nothing more heartbreaking than something coming up that's against, and you can't countercharge the customer for it, so you've just got to go, well, hopefully we'll make it up on the next side or the next part of the job. Yeah.
And to what you said, the key who can read the job is when you go and build power plant boilers, the key job is the one who tells the guy down there what goes in next.
Yeah.
Because if that is wrong, 100-foot higher up in that thing where nobody can hear you, nobody can see you, that is wrong. You have to roll it all up. You have to pass it down, or you have to give it away.
Yeah, they're horrible places to work, boilers. I've done a few. I've done a few shifts in a few boilers. Australia.
So it sounds like a hot boiler too.
Yeah, like 50 some degrees in there. Like water breaks every 15 minutes. Horrible. But someone's got to do it.
They pay a lot of money for it because the shutdown is so much more expensive. And this is something where some lift board or where we strive, because were able to shut down, instead of a 7-day build, bring it down to 2.5-day build. What does that mean? The scaffold is twice the price. But how many millions does a day of shutdown cost a power plant of a boiler?
Yeah.
So it's never about the cost of the scaffold. It's usually about the opportunity cost that you lose on it. Scaffold is the cheap part. He said, the scaffold costs $1 million more. How much is a day of shutdown?
Yeah.
That's out in the first hour.
Yeah.
On a 250 meg boiler.
So is that like the main market for Layher in Houston is like industrial?
The main market is industrial. Houston and the whole Gulf Coast, they call it a golden triangle. LNG plants, refineries, chemical, and shipyards, everything down there. So this is definitely one of the biggest markets. Then you go up north into Canada, it's the mines. Again, chemicals and petrochemicals and refineries, and then shipbuilding on the coast.
It sounds very similar to Western Australia, where I worked for a while. Again, the first time I did a boiler in system was with this stuff, and it definitely saved a lot of time. By the way, I'm going to let you get back on to enjoying the event, because we got you early, didn't we?
Yep, you got me early.
So, but absolute legend, made some time for us. So thank you for coming on and having a quick chat. Maybe we'll get you again tomorrow for a little interview while the event's going on.
I need an extra beer then if I have to do that again.
Well, I've got a blue band, so
okay, blue bands. All right.
The Milky Bars are on me.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Frank.
Well, thank you, Isaac.
And speak to you again soon.
Yep. Bye-bye.